let in. It looks like,
Yep.
oh, there she is.
All right, we're live.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is the 18th of May at 11:01. Could we have a roll call, please, Ms. Parkman?
So for the record, my name is Karen Parkman. I serve as the Director of Administration for the agency. In today's budget meeting, we have Chair Doherty,
Here.
Commissioner Fowler,
Here.
Okay.
and Executive Director Connie Nguyen.
Here.
Okay,
And-
that's good.
And Karen, you're here too, and you're on the committee.
I'm here too. Yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, there's no old business listed or with the meeting agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda for today?
I do have one item I would like to add, just a discussion on commissioners going to the fair meets.
Okay. That would be under new business?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I have it down. Okay, there's no old business. Under new business, we have Director Nguyen report on the e-board, emergency board.
Yes, my name is Connie Nguyen. I'm the Executive Director of the Oregon Racing Commission. As all of you are aware, I'd asked permission from the commission to go to the e-board. Let me explain for everybody who may or may not know what that is. The e-board is the emergency board. These are held a couple times a year. The intent of these are to raise limitations for many agencies that are not self-funded. It means getting more money from the state. In our case, we are self-funded and we have the money. It was just asking for permission to spend those dollars. We've heard for several years, well, if you don't have the money, you can always go to the e-board.
Mhm.
So we took that option and we went because we didn't get some of the funding that we thought we were going to get. And we have done better than we anticipated. Unfortunately, apparently it's not that easy to just go to the e-board. I've been talking about this for some time to my contact in the governor's office. She was fully aware of it. Apparently, she did not run it up the poll, though. She didn't think it was a big deal either. So we were both a little blindsided. I have a new contact person at the at DAS Finance Department of Administrative Services, and my initial new person I had a month and a half ago said, yes, we'll get all together so you can request it. Then I got a new
Director
person.
Nguyen, just in background, you went to them, did the legislature cut our budget? Is that what was one of the things that precipitated going to the
Yes,
emergency board?
Yes, for the background, going back to, very good, going back to the last budget cycle, we were asked, partly because of what's coming up with Greyhounds and uncertainty with the ADWs, we were asked to increase our ending balance. And the way that the Department of Administrative Service, our CEO, thought would be to best do that would be to decrease our limitations by almost 700,000. We also knew that we had a bill in that was highly supported by the governor's office to retain the 75%. So we thought we would be okay. And we were even told then, of course, you just go to the e-board once you get that through and we'll change it. So there's the background.
Okay.
As it turns out, we have not lost any more ADWs, and we have just gained a new ADW, online wagering company. So we're actually doing better than we had expected. Unfortunately, though, after a great deal of work, and I want to thank both my contact at Salem, but also Karen Parkman for helping me put together a tremendous amount of background and research on what we've spent, why we spent it. I thought we had a really solid argument. I was really quite surprised that they said, no, we're not going to let you go to the e-board. I didn't even get the opportunity to present it to the
Okay.
fiscal office. It only went, the governor's office was basically told by the CFO that, not told, but it was communicated that it wasn't a good idea, and they have not let us do it. I don't know if it's because they're trying to make sure they have more cash in an ending balance. I'm not sure the bigger political end of that, but we have been told we are not going to the board. And they said maybe you can go in the fall. I don't know what's going to happen with that. So it's really important to know that we have the cash. We can't spend the cash. I don't know if the cash is, if the plan is they're trying to have money that they can sweep or what, because that's above my pay grade. I do know that we can try again later. I'm going to be working very closely with our new CEO or CFO to try to understand exactly what they would need to get that through. I also, in this process, because I thought that this was an easy fix, I submitted a late exception to policy for our next budget, specifically to fund Harney County and to increase our limitations for the next budget time for Harney County and our new database system, because right now I can't fund either one of those. I have already told Harney County that even if they do get their track in shape, I don't have purse money for them for the first year they want to run, which we would have to fund at the end of this biennium. So with that, they will not be running until 2028, July of 2028. They've got a lot of work to do, so that might just be fine. But and that's only if we can get our limitations raised enough to be able to support them then.
So basically, the ask that went through the governor's office that was to go to the emergency board was for the commission to use additional funds that they already have, or was it asking for more funds?
Use additional funds we already have that we do not
Okay.
have to spend.
Okay, but they're not earmarked, they're not whatever, and so with the budget process, there was no place for it to go. I mean, we do have places for it to go, but it had not been authorized.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, okay.
And Karen, you want to say something? You're muted.
Yeah, it'll just sit in ending balance. So what we don't spend because of our limitation being capped out, it'll just sit in ending balance,
Got it.
which is not really where we want it to sit.
Okay.
And because of that, you know, we already have been going very conservatively. I think I estimated that we've already managed to save $250,000, but even with that, we would need quite a bit more to really do everything that we really have budgeted. So we're going to continue to run very, very lean for the remainder of the biennium. The one concern I have is that our legal fees have been really good recently. We've had very low legal fees, but because of the fact that we've raised our fines, we see that we may be challenged on more of our fines. And if there is any type of, if they have to go to any higher level, it costs us a lot of legal money. So that's probably my biggest concern. If we can just keep our legal fees low, that'll help quite a bit. And then also I've cut some of my own travel, just because of the fact that, you know, any place I can save money, we're going to try to save. Micah is not doing any on-site audits except for when absolutely necessary. He's doing them all remotely, which is saving us money. We get reimbursed for that, but the reimbursement does not, the reimbursement does not count towards our limitations. I mean, we still have our limitations no matter how much money we get reimbursed.
Okay, Commissioner Fowler.
This is gonna be a really dumb question. I know that,
There
but
are
I
no
don't know
dumb
the answer.
questions.
I don't know the answer to it. Um, so this is money that by statute and regulation goes to the racing commission. It's our money. What authorizes the state to say we don't get it? I mean, it is basically this is the state saying we're going to use this money for something else,
Well, they have,
or
yeah. Good question. They haven't said they're going to use it. They've said we can't spend it. Now, what could happen to this is where our chair is the expert, is the legislators can say, we're going to take it. Do you want to expand on how that
okay.
works?
Well, so they could steal it from us. I
Well,
mean,
we call it a sweep. We don't necessarily call it steal. Yes.
okay. Um, and I'm assuming that that's all statutorily authorized. So is it just like a percentage of however much we get, or is it they cap us at the amount we're allowed to have, and then any extra goes into this area where they can sweep it? Is that right? Am I understanding that right?
So it sits, think of it this way, it sits in one big bag of money. And the legislature says we need you to have 3 to 6 months of ending balance in case something catastrophic happens.
Mm-hmm.
Then they take what is our entire monthly expenditures and, times that by their 3 to 6 months. That's how much we should have there. We have more there than what we need. So anytime we have more there than what we need to get 3 to 6 months, we should be able to spend that money because
Yeah.
it is the money that's meant for the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is that even though it's in statute, the legislators giveth and the legislators can take it away. So while it's in statute that way, that it does belong to the industry, they still hold the for lack of a better thing to say, the highest power on it. They can still make changes to it.
Take
I don't
it.
really think they will.
And they never have, but
Yeah, but they could.
they
So,
could.
and that's why whenever we have any extra money, like at the end of the last biennium, I'm like, let's get it all out of here. That's why, because they could.
So then at the end of the biennium, we'll be allowed to spend that money that's ours?
No,
Not this time.
that's not, that's,
Okay.
Because
that's not how,
it's because of the limitation. Yeah.
the way
Okay.
it works is we have to go put our budget together for the next biennium, which we are currently in the
Mhm.
process. And we are going to ask for so much money. They're going to let us increase things by the cost of inflation, but
Got it.
then that they usually won't let us increase much more than what we have this time, even though they made the cuts. So we're making an argument to them to please increase it beyond that because we have new obligations at this point, which are, our data system and some
Yeah.
other things we really need the money for. So,
And it's our money.
and it's
We're
our
not
money.
asking for anybody else's money.
We're not asking for anybody else's money. We're
Got it.
asking for our, and
Okay.
so we're doing everything we can, and that's why I wanted to have this meeting. We're doing everything we can to ensure that we can access those funds. And in the meantime, to make sure that we can run our races and our purses are protected, we are making some sacrifices and doing some things in a different way. Mike is doing most of his audits remotely. There are a few audits that he has to do personally because there are new companies that are coming online. And what we're doing with those is the way we used to do it. And we're letting the associations or those companies pay directly for our airfare and hotel. So we're not expensive as much. That way the limitations is only impacting us on the meals that he eats. So we told him not to eat anymore. He's going on a diet. No, I'm kidding.
And so
Thanks.
basically,
That clears it up.
Yeah, and for clarification, what we're talking about on this, the monies right now is the rest of what we call the biennium, which will end in 26. Because the new budget process for Oregon begins in 2027. And so it's the 2026 money that's already there and so on and so forth. Just as clarification, they don't do what we call sweeps very often. They probably did one I think in 2008, 2009, when there's a recession. And I know that they ask most departments and commissions and that kind of thing, like you said, keep 6 months of expenses kind of, in a rainy day fund. So in case anything happens, because since Oregon's basic income is based upon personal income tax, that when the economy tanks, so does our budget. And that's when they've gone through and taken money away that's been left over in, I won't say left over, but kind of left over in all different departments that they go through and say, we need to take this and this and this just to balance the budget. And so that's
Right.
one of the things that they were doing.
And by constitution, they're required to have a budget that's balanced.
Yes,
So
that's
they-
constitutionally, they have to have a balanced budget.
Yeah, and there's something else that's been playing in heavily is they're not getting as much federal grant money as they used to because of the big beautiful bill. That's curtailed a lot of things, and they've been trying very hard to keep funding those things by finding money in other places.
Yeah.
So basically it's all of those things together that has brought us to this point. And but the good news is we run a very tight ship, and we're very cautious, and we can find ways, just like we did, by coming all remote, we can find ways to continue to save money, but we have to make sure it does not impact safety.
Right.
And so that's basically where we are. I think that really covers it pretty well. Again, we've done really well, even with all the additional. Another thing that happened to us is we've had a number of high expenses too, which is really incredible that we've saved some money even with those. We had enormous overruns in the amount of money we had to pay contract labor because of not having a veterinarian last summer.
That's right.
We're paying really high prices, and we had no choice. We had a lab that we picked at the very last minute because we lost our lab's accreditation, 3 times higher than the other labs. But it was the only one we could go with because we'd have to go through the procurement process, which we now are working on for this summer. Again, much higher than we normally would. And then thirdly, our investigators, their computer system, which is tied to the state and their fingerprint machine and all that, they were told a month beforehand, oh, by the way, you're going to have to update all your equipment because it won't be compatible with the states anymore. And that was, how much was that? $12,000. It was a lot. So the fact that we've been able to save money, even with all those unexpected, we're doing pretty good. But there's not going to be any extra money for the industry, and we're going to have to continue to run very, very lean through the end of the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, and on a positive note on something like this, if indeed we do, and the emergency board meets, on a regular basis, it's not that we can't go back to the emergency board, but since it was kind of the governor's office that said, we don't want this to go forward. It does help that you have been very prudent with the budgeting process and the use of funds and look for other sources, that kind of thing. That helps because it just shows that the money that we have and the money that we spent is done on a very cautious basis, and it's done on a very, very good basis, and that helps.
Right.
So
that's all I have to say on the e-board.
Okay.
I know it's very disappointing. There was a lot of things we were hoping to do with that extra money. We'll end up with probably an extra $1 million sitting there beyond what we need for our 6 months. But again, we'll continue to work on ways to try to get some of that money back for next time.
I do have a question with that on the 27, 29 biennium. Can that money be carried over?
It
Or
goes with us. So in July, provided they don't sweep it, it will remain as our ending balance.
got it. That's what I
But
thought.
what we really need to do is to try to communicate as well as possible to the higher level people in the governor's office and DAS finance, the reason why it's important that we get to some of that money. It's also, we're coming up on an election. I have no idea how much that's playing into all of this.
Okay.
And again,
And that might be,
question.
Yeah.
Our chair
Go
knows
ahead.
better.
Well, and I think what it is, the idea of communicating to higher levels, and that's just the idea of just kind of keeping different people who have the authority to make decisions on budgets and so on, just kind of keep them updated on what we do, because I know this will disappoint many of you, but the Oregon Racing Commission is not necessarily at the top level of concern for a lot of people, and especially with funding and so on. So, but it's something that I think if we just keep kind of an education process going with legislators and so on, that helps, and the governor's office. So, okay. So when we meet on Thursday, Connie, do you want to go over and just go over what you just told us?
Sure, I'm glad to do that.
Okay. I mean, I wrote it down, but you'd be the better source. Okay. Any questions for Director Nguyen? Lindsay, have any questions for her? Yeah. Yeah, budgeting is a very up and down process. Oh, okay, so the next thing is,
I'll just
okay,
say
go
one
ahead,
thing.
yes.
If I could talk to help in any way, I would be happy to do so. So
Thank you.
if I could talk about how funding has helped me be a better commissioner for sure, and our ability to go to these places, and I think that probably segues into what you wanted to talk about, Connie, which is us attending the fair meets this summer.
Mhm.
Right, right. And I did make a point of that. I did make a point that I can't even afford for you guys to go so you can oversee. And with that, if I may, Chair, I would like to go ahead and go into that. I
Right.
think the I've been thinking a lot about you guys not going, and
Yeah, because Lindsay, that's an excellent point. And I think it's one thing that we can bring up with other people, that I think it's like any agency or organization, the people that are using it, if they see the people that are making the decisions and they're able to talk to them, one-on-one and that kind of thing, that really helps very much so.
right.
Well, and it
So-
helps us make more informed decisions because we know what's going on. I know me personally, I'm going to go to some of the races, as many as I can, whether I'm paid to go or not. But I think it's important for us to have some presence there and be talking to people and know the players and
Right.
see everything for ourselves too.
And
Excellent.
my recommendation is going to be, we're very tight on money, but one thing we could do to make sure you guys all get out there is everybody lives close enough to drive to one race meet
Mhm.
for a day. And I think it's more than reasonable for us to spend the money for, Chair Doherty to go to Tillamook for
Tillamook.
a day, and for Commissioner Fowler and why am I Commissioner Kinsley
Kinsley, yeah.
to go to I guess Kinsley could go to either Tillamook or Grants Pass, probably half and half for a day. Commissioner Barry can go to Union for a day. So at least we're getting out and we're getting some presence. And I just don't think it's healthy for you guys to be making decisions about the commission if you're not watching races. It's just not.
Mhm.
So that's my recommendation, is that
Yeah.
that we can have you go to those.
Right.
Because
And it's one of those, if it's within the day, I mean, because I can drive, and go see a couple of races and come back from Tillamook. I don't have to stay overnight.
Right.
And that's not always the case, but because we want to, of course, the commissioners also to be safe. So, yeah.
Right. So that's my recommendations. At least we can get everybody to one. And maybe next summer, maybe I'll have some luck at getting us to the e-board again in September, where we'll be in better shape.
Mhm.
And then next summer in July, we start a new round.
Right, okay, that's good. But Linda, I do like the comment that it's important to us to be out there and to have our presence known and understand and see what they go through is very important. Okay, so with the fair meets, that's going to be the recommendation going to make on Thursday at the meeting, or?
Actually, I think that would be better from you.
Okay. And what I can do is when I give the budget report, I can go through and talk about the fair meets, and then we can, talk about that later on. So, okay, I will do that. Okay, anything else on fair meets? Okay, what about the next biennium, 27-29? Ooh, budget.
Yeah, and I've kind of covered a lot of it already. So we are working on our first draft, the agency proposed budget. I think Karen and I are doing a good job of going through and really scrubbing our numbers. At this point, it'll be interesting to see with my projections on, we're going to have quite a bit more money, but we looked at it and we had quite a bit more money last time. So it's not, Karen's working on a percentage of how much more year over year. So we'll see if they'll let us spend all that money or not. We're going to ask for every dime and see what they come back with. If nothing else, at least let us spend all the money we're going to bring in. And then, so at this point, we have to, what's the date that it's due, Karen, the first round?
July 31st, the ARB has to be turned in.
Yeah, July 31st. So at this point, we have most of our stuff done. We're waiting for the audited reports to come back where it's all put in the fancy machines. And then we'll double check those and organize it, which it's like a page report. So it's lots of putting things together. So we're in good shape for that. I have, provided that we get the money we need, we should have no problem supporting Harney County and going forward with everything. Again, provided that they let us have our money.
And I think one argument that can be used to the governor's office for letting us use those funds is that the funds are going to the rural part of the state.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's very important to go through and stress that it's going to Harney County, and the Harney County Fair employs blah, 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 and they have these many horses and they have these many races and these many people come in and that kind of thing. But, between Prineville and Harney County and Union County, those can be used as arguments as to why it is important to get these funds to get that out to the rural areas. So.
Right. And yeah. I'm sorry, Karen, but before you go, I will be calling on at least one of you to go with me to the budget meeting, which we'll have probably in January or February. Sorry, Karen.
So, okay.
No, I was just going to say that the legislators when we go and meet with them, they are adamant about safety. They are adamant about every single thing we do and how are we improving this and how are we improving that and why did this happen? And it all boils down to how much can we spend on safety. So if we can't spend the money to make things safer, how do we make things safer, which is what they're asking us to do. So it's a real catch-22 to be asked to do everything imaginable and then have your money taken away from you. So if we can somehow get that across.
Yeah, and that's a good argument to make, especially with the Harney County, because a lot of that money would have gone towards making the track safer and the areas safer and so on for the horses and the jockeys. And so
there's even an argument that in the past has been had. I don't know how exactly true, but the argument was is that if your purses are higher, you're also going to bring a safer race meet because you're going to have horses that are racing at a higher level. I don't know if that's an actual true statement. I would hate to think that horses that are running for $2,500, shouldn't be there. I'm sure that they should be there. They're running at a slower pace or whatever their reasons are that they're running in those races. And that's for the experts to figure out, like our presiding steward and all of those people in the know. But there is something to be said for that. So it's not just that we've put in a better safety rail or we've just done all of this for the track or whatever it is. It can also just be purses are higher and maybe higher level of horse comes. So that's all.
Yeah. No, and as I say, I think an education program would be good because a lot of, I don't know. I will say something. I thought, oh yes, I'm, on the Oregon Racing Commission, and I probably get more times than not. We still have horse racing.
Yeah.
Because at least in the metro area, we don't have it anymore. And so that's why people are going, we still have horse racing. So I think the education aspect of it helps.
Commissioner Fowler?
Well, I wanted to say two things. One, us being present and seeing really what's going on, it makes for a safer place too, because we're the ones that are discussing with you guys what needs to be put into place and the priority of things, and everybody should just have their eyes on what we're talking about. What were we talking about just now? I forgot the second thing I was gonna say.
Lindsay gets worse. We were talking about education and where outside people don't know that we really have.
Oh yeah. Thank you for thanks for reminding me. So I watched the Kentucky Derby at my neighborhood pub and was just amazed talking to people of the lack of knowledge. It really, I felt like quite an ambassador of the sport, walking around telling everybody how safe it really is. And
yeah, that's good. And it is because once Portland Meadows closed down, at least in the metro area, and when the counties stopped having horse racing, because Washington County Fair always had horses and that kind of thing. So education, I think, is going to be that can be maybe one of our goals next year too. So anyway, okay. Anything else on that before we go to public comment? Okay. Do we have any public comment? Randy's got his face on, so I would assume you have some public comment. Okay.
So a few things. One, the idea of you guys visiting and stuff, it really matters because even though my horseman might not come up to you and say, Commissioner Fowler, Commissioner Doherty, this, that, a lot of people are tugging on my sleeve going, who's that? Who's that? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, that's, so-and-so, and they're visiting the races and they're, trying to learn as much as they can, et cetera, et cetera. So it does make an impression. I want you to know that part of it. Regarding, the legislators, as you know, myself, Rod, Dave and Leah, Connie Erickson, her husband, all heavily involved with the legislators as far as, with our bill going through all the time. And another thing to bring up that we found was we say stuff like pre-race exam, but they have no idea what that is. When you think about it, what the horses have to go through for a pre-race exam, it far exceeds any other athletic endeavor that humans do. You don't got doctors rubbing up and down the legs and walking athletes back and forth and all that stuff. When you talk about safety, there's front and center safety right there. Is this horse ready to run? And and a lot of legislators have no idea what we're even talking about when we say that stuff. You literally got to break it down to this is exactly what happens. So that part. All the way back to when you were talking about your possible future legal fees from raising your rates and stuff on your fines. Is it still on the form that you use when you want to appeal a decision that years back during Frog, we put in like a disclaimer in line that said, if you chose to appeal the decision for whatever reason, that if you then fail to appear for the hearing, that all legal fees inferred by the commission were on you. And that seemed to deter a
Connie,
lot
you're
of,
muted. Connie, you're muted. I'm
that seemed
sorry.
to deter a lot of
Randy.
that stuff.
Think that's still there. I'm gonna have to look. Again, my power's off. Karen, do you remember if that's still on there?
You repeat that? Sorry.
I said, do you remember if that's still on the forum? Well, I'll check. If it's not,
We better check before we say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I just remember that being a good deterrent, because that way you can't waste the attorney general's time and then they don't even show up.
Yeah, that's good.
So-
That's good.
So,
Do you have to pay the $50? Is that what you were, is that?
Well, that's not
no,
what
but there was that we put a line right above the signature line. This is back when Charlie was there and Diego, that said, the undersigned, understand that should I appeal this blah, blah, blah decision and fail to appear for the appeal hearing, all legal fees incurred by the Oregon Racing Commission are payable by me.
Yeah.
Might
So-
say May. So we'll check that out too, because I don't think we can, I don't think we made it so that they would have to, but we'll look at that and see. But they also do have to pay a $50 just to appeal.
dollars.
So-
Right. Well, and my thought was, look, if you're actually going to show up and appeal, fine, you've got the legal right to do so. You're entitled to due process, but don't waste everybody's time and then not even show up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that makes sense too.
Our sentiments, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
does.
Well,
okay,
because it's expensive for
It
the legal
is.
fees to
Well,
have
Yeah.
an attorney
Last
be
time,
prepared to go
last time
forward.
I
Yeah,
looked, you people don't work for nothing. So yeah.
that's true. I mean, unless you decide to be commissioners.
I think
Yeah.
one contested case can run roughly like $3,500 before we even get it in front of the ALJ.
Yes. So, some
My-
attorneys do, but I doubt we have many pro bono cases on this. So, yeah.
Well, the last one
Okay,
we had.
that's all I had.
Oh,
That's
thank you,
good.
Randy.
Good.
Okay, anything else that we need to talk about, need to bring up? Okay, so on Thursday, we'll go through and talk about the budget and maybe, and I will bring up the thing, I think it's very important, and with the discussion that we've had today, of kind of having what is horse racing 101? What is the Racing Commission 101? And that we do have horses, it does make a difference in the rural areas, and it's something that should be on somebody's priority list that has more power than we do. How's that?
I like it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, listen, you guys have a good rest of the afternoon, and we will see you on Thursday.
Right. See
Thanks.
you then. Bye.
Thanks much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care.